Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, runner, voice recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado, and I thought I would make a quick video to check out the new UI that has a UI redesign that has dropped for Roll20 recently. As most of you should know, I've been using Roll20 for a very long time. It's been very convenient. It's certainly gone through a lot of changes over the years, and finally has gone through one of the more probably significant changes in terms of the overall design and just look of basically the left side of the screen, the UI for Roll20. So I was going to go through and see all the changes they made and if they're good, if there's any problems with them, and we can look at them together. I've also had the foresight to move my webcam over slightly because now we are using the bottom left of the screen for the new layers. So Roll20 is packaged with 4 different layers that operate, with each other in order to create what the players and the DM and everybody is seeing. The map layer is basically the very bottom layer and is used pretty much when you're building a map together, and you're not even putting you're maybe putting some objects in there, like like a video game where there's non-interactive objects. Basically all the background set design stuff should be on the map layer, and in theory once you're playing the game you really don't want to touch the map layer at all. You have the lighting layer next, which is mainly useful for drawing the boundaries for dynamic lighting, which is for Roll20 subscribers, which I would highly recommend using dynamic lighting. If you're going to use Roll20 for a lot of your gameplay, I have nothing but good things to say about how the dynamic lighting system works. And I had originally started off with just using like the Fog of War, free version of Roll20, and then very quickly we got into dynamic lighting, and I have not looked back since. So the lighting layer you will have to switch to if you're, somebody's lighting a torch, or there's lights going out, or doors and windows, although that is also an update, which you've been able to see that in some of my later Rime of the Frostmaiden videos that actually came out. Then you have the GM layer, which is where specifically DMs and GMs want to put information that is hidden, because the players do not see that layer. They also technically don't see the lighting layer either, because the lighting layer, they'll see like the light effects, but they won't see like the barriers. So for example, if I switch to lighting, which by the way, we're looking, I guess spoilers for Lost Mine of Phandelver. It's this old, like, come on. I should have said spoiler. We're looking at one of the dungeons from Lost Mine of Phandelver. This is the Red Brand hideout, which this version of it specifically is the version that you will get if you purchase Lost Mine of Phandelver on Roll20. That's what I'm using to look at this update. So the lighting layer, when I actually click to it, should look something like this, where it has all the drawn barriers. And this was made years and years before the new Doors and Windows update came. So it actually has the old school version of that, which was just other barriers that were drawn differently so that you knew to open and close these, so that it's like, oh, I'm going to open a door, then you would move that barrier around. So you would have to switch the lighting layer quite a bit. GM layer, however, is only for hidden information, like this Nothic here in the ravine would be on the GM layer. The skeletons that are hiding in the sarcophagi would be on the GM layer. Anything that you want to have on the map as a GM, but you don't want to have visible to the players. And then you'll have to switch to the GM layer and then switch to those tokens to the actual token layer in order to have the players interact with it. And the token layer should be the main layer that you spend all of your time on. That's where you've got all your tokens, all your interactive stuff. That's where players are moving things around, etc., etc. And I really love the fact that all of these layers are now visible directly on the UI, and they all light up like a button. In fact, yeah, they're all different colors, which is kind of cute too. Tokens is green, GM is blue, light is yellow, and map is pink. Because it was very easy to forget what layer you were on. Before, it had kind of a drop-down menu, and it was just too easy to forget what layer you were on. Or maybe you were like, why can't I click on this token? And then you remember, oh, I'm on the GM layer, so I'm not actually interacting with anything on the token layer. It did add a layer of confusion, especially for new people to Roll20. So this right here is an awesome change. It's one of those just small little UI things, but UI makes such a big difference when it comes to the user experience. And this is very commendable. I very much enjoy this. I'm instantly in love with the fact that I can swap things around. And they all have keyboard shortcuts you can use. Tokens is Control O. I believe GM was Control K. Light is Control colon, I guess, apostrophe. I don't know which one that is. I think it's a colon. And then map layer is Control M. But honestly, just pressing these buttons is going to be really, really nice and slick. Then we've got this kind of small drop-down menu over here, which now has a button for preview as player. So before, this was something that was probably one of the most asked questions for Roll20, which is, how do I look from a tokens perspective? Because I need to know what my players are going to see, and I need to make sure my lighting is set up, you know, things are appropriately on the GM layer. How do I look through the eyes of my player without having to like exit the game, rejoin as a player, put myself in as a player, yada, yada, yada? It just got way too much. And it was Control L was the shortcut for that. Well, now there's just a button. You can still use Control L, obviously, but now there's a button. So you have to, I believe, let's see if it says, probably makes me choose it token first, or it's already got me as the last token I selected. So let's click on this goblin and go to preview as player. So a few things come up. First, it tries to do that, and it says, oh, you haven't enabled, by the way, I just dragged this random goblin onto the map. It says you haven't enabled vision for this token yet, which is helpful because that's something that you wouldn't normally, you know, this token can't actually see. So click on enable vision. Because, and I'm going to exit this for a second because I'll show you why it's not showing up. Because normally tokens don't have vision, because as a DM, you don't care if your monsters technically have vision or not, because you are omnipresent, you've got all the vision. All of your player tokens, however, need to have vision, which is going to be here under, I just double clicked the token and then went to the dynamic lighting tab and just make sure this token vision is on. Only if you have basically players, or if for some reason you need to do what I just did, which is look through the eyes of that token. Now, currently this goblin cannot see anything. It is dark, which means, there's no lighting, which is good to know. Now, I went through and looked. You have to click on either Control L or just exit preview up here. I was trying to remember, like, okay, does this dungeon have lighting, or does this goblin need to light a torch, which I can show you to do both of those. And it does say most areas are brightly lit by oil lamps in wall sconces, refilled every few hours as needed. So that's maybe an oversight. Again, this is an older module that maybe hasn't gotten updated, or maybe I didn't apply the update. You know, it may be that I'm just using an older version myself. This is again an ancient module. So I could add my own lighting in here. So that's where this tab comes in, where I can use the lighting tab to place lights, doors, and windows. This is another semi-recent update. I think this might have been just a few months ago here. So we can go to place light, and then we will, I think it needs to be on the lighting layer. Let's actually, because otherwise if you do it as token, I believe this white torch thing will show up as a token. So let's make sure we're on the lighting layer first. Then we're going to place light, and we're going to put one there. And notice how it literally just lit up right there because the goblin's got vision. And then we're going to put one here. So now we're going to go, and now if I try to select the goblin, I can't because I'm on the lighting layer. So I got to go back to the token layer. But now we can go to preview, and now you can see it's lit up. And look at that, the lighting doesn't show up as that little torch thing. So make sure you put that on the lighting layer. Again, you'll need to be, you know, swapping layers a little bit. Now, if you want to, you can, you know, go to the art gallery and mine's kind of cut off because I squeezed mine over to help you can see it normally looks like that. I have as much map room as I can, so I tend to squeeze my right side over. If you want to search for, you know, a random torch picture or something, you can do that. Drag it on the map, and then you can still do the old school way. Which, you know what, I'll actually do this. We'll walk through the process because a lot of people are asking me to make these kind of helper videos, and I'm finally have a chance to kind of quickly do that. Let's just grab, there we go, this random image off the internet. We'll see if that can work or if it needs to wait a while to do this. And I'm actually on the token layer currently, so I would need to put that on the map layer. I'm going to search all of my things. I don't want you to do that. Do that one. Okay, that one came out easier. So right now, this would be on the token layer. That's not a big deal, but you probably don't need it to be. So you can still just right-click and add it to the map layer is what I would probably do. That way it's stuck there. And then you will have to, and now it's still, you know, I put the thing on the lighting layer, so you go to the light area and see that torch is, I'm pointing on my screen, like you can see my finger. You can see this white torch is still there. The other way you can do it is, now I'd have to go to the map layer, which is always a little nervous. You can double click this icon and actually give it the emitting light. which would do the same thing. But honestly, this torch thing is very helpful, and I think it automatically adds, I think you can actually select it and see. It's automatically doing what would be the equivalent of a torch, which is 20 feet of bright light and 20 feet of dim light. That's really handy. So it's just really easy. Instead of having to, you know, the old school way of doing it, the way I've had to do it is have a piece of art on there, like a little torch or something, double click on that, add the 2020, and then copy, paste, and then put that around everywhere. You can still do that, but it might be easier just to drag these little icons on there. And then you don't even have to do the art. The art's just there for the players to see, like, oh, okay, it's lit up right there. Otherwise, you know, whatever, you can just put it there and say, hey, it's lit that way. So that's how you would create the art. And then notice how, you know, all the correct barriers are drawn. We'll go back to the token layer here. And you can actually, with dynamic lighting, you can see I can move it around and actually see how that lighting kind of blocks certain views. And then with the doors being closed, you can't see that. So that's awesome. And you click this exit preview button and you can see the whole map again. That's very, very handy. That is nice. You can still right click and drag the map around, which is nice. This is the one I don't understand. They added the ability to pan as another entire selection on this toolbar. Sorry, I'm getting endless spam calls, and I forget to do not disturb my phone. And now you can drag with left click. I don't know why this deserved its own button here, that you can now do this as a left click when you could have already done that as a right click on this one. So I don't see myself ever really using the pan option. If somebody has a better use for that, let me know, but I don't feel that's necessary when you can already right click and pan around just fine. Then we've got draw and text, which you mainly want to draw to. The main reason I use the draw function is for making those dynamic lighting barriers. So you're on the light level, and then in fact, now you can make walls one-way transparent. This is how you would make all your barriers for your lighting. You would just draw these lines, and you can say, you know, the thickness of them, and you know, if you want to color code them, which as you can see here, they use this kind of bright green and then red for the doors. And then because it's on the lighting layer, that automatically acts as a sight blocker. It will block all sight and light, so you don't have to do anything else, which is nice. Otherwise, if you do it on the map or you know, token layer or something, it's just going to appear as a colored line for whatever reason. If your players want to draw dicks on the map or something, then that's how they can do that. Text, same thing. You just write text fields on the map for whatever reason, and again, whatever you know, layer you're on is depending on who's going to be able to see that. FX has been in there for a while. It's not something I really use. You know, it's fine. It's got its own button here. Maybe I'll do it more often now that I don't know, see it like this for some reason. But it's, you know, you can do little things, I guess. I don't know. It's fine. Kind of, in fact, I can't even get it to work right there. It's kind of janky. This is working earlier. I don't know why it's suddenly not working for me. Beam of acid. Click and drag. Okay, yeah, I can't even say it was working, I swear, before I even started this video, but now it's not doing anything. I don't really do the effects that much, to be honest. It's just I haven't gotten much use out of them. It's probably one of the things that Roll20 is weakest at compared to other VTTs or the actual special effects things you can do. To continue with the lighting section, though, doors and windows. So now instead of doing, let's go back to the lighting area, like this door here. So if we were to delete this completely, go back to the token layer. Now our friendly goblin, which we can do our previous player, which by the way, it actually centers the map. I just noticed that. Now you can see into that map because it's totally open. I just opened that up. Now there's an option for actually putting in a door, which I believe we want to be on the lighting layer for that. This is, again, the tricky thing you need to remember to switch to your layers. And now you can, okay, all the effects just went off. I don't know why that was a delay. That was odd. Something to do with the layers I was on, maybe? And you can create a door, which you just put it on the map, and then I believe you can just move this door around like that. And notice how it blocked line of sight. And the players themselves can actually open this door, which is interesting. If you don't want them, first of all, you can click it open, and you can kind of see how the light changes right there. So that's showing you the goblin's visibility because, again, he's got lighting in there, or she, and he's got visibility. So open it up, then they can see all of that, and if not closed. Now, if it's closed just like this, then any player can literally click on even though it's on the light layer, it will still show up on the map. And anybody can click on this door to open it. And that's the cool thing about the door system. If you don't want your players to do that, because you don't want them to randomly jackass around and open a bunch of doors, then you can click on it and lock the door specifically. My advice would be to maybe do this even if the door is technically not locked quite yet, just to give you peace of mind in case your players are jumping the gun a little bit. It lets them slow down and like, okay, now that you've made it to here, I can like, oh yeah, this door is not actually locked, but you still have to stay here and pause for a second without opening it. That just means the players can't actually click on and open the door. And then secret, I believe, I don't actually know what that looks like from the player's point of view. I haven't played around with that. But I think it just makes it show up as not a door and just a line. I haven't tested exactly what that looks like. I'd have to rejoin as a player and set all that up, and I haven't actually done that yet. So maybe somebody else can explain that to me, but I'm assuming it just makes it show up like it's a simple line. Although I don't know if that would, I mean, the map graphic might still show up, you know, in terms of it's very clearly a door. So it would be more like this area up here, which is supposed to be a secret door. Notice how that looks like another piece of the map right there. So that's something you could probably put a door there and then put the secret tab on it, which means it doesn't show up as a door option at all. So, and then window, the difference between window and door is I believe window, you always have visibility through it, but a window can also be locked. So you can use that. One great thing you can use it is for prison cells. So if you want to set up some prison cells, but still be able to have the players be able to look in to an area, but not be able to access it, then you would technically use it. I mean, even though it's called window, you know, you can use it as like a prison door. Any area that you want your players to be able to see in, but is also technically blocking them from moving in. And the same thing as a door, you can use that to, you can set it to be locked, so literally they can't open it, or you can set it to be regular, so they can just click on and open it whenever they want. So all of this is not new. They've had this for, I believe, several months now, but it's still really cool, and it's an awesome addition to Roll20 for sure. We still have the old school Fog of War, which I have not used in a very long time because with dynamic lighting, I don't really think you need to use it. But this allows you to hide. You can actually select explorable darkness or permanent darkness. And then you can hide areas by dragging, I believe. Yep, like creates like that area. And then you can reveal them by essentially clicking on the same thing, and it would reveal that area. I haven't honestly jacked with this too much. I don't know why it's not staying there at the moment. Does that have to be on the lighting layer maybe? I don't know. It's been years since since I used this, but it essentially allows you, this is how you would do lighting if you don't have dynamic lighting. You would have to create all these kind of blocks of Fog of War, and then as they move into the room, you would then manually draw and reveal that entire room, and then you could close, you know, areas behind them if you wanted to do it that way. So the option is still there, but I think fewer and fewer people are actually using this because anybody who's probably DMing or GMing on Roll20 has dynamic lighting available. And then finally you have the measurement tool. Now this one I also got a really, really cool update that I don't think has been around yet, and if it has been, I'm so embarrassed that I missed it. Normally your measurement tool was this default snap to center, and it's just a way, it was actually used quite a bit in our games where you could, you know, measure the length of like spells and the distance between, you know, gaps and pits and all these other things. Two big changes happened here, and again, I'm not sure if these have been around yet, but I just noticed them while doing this video. You can now snap to center and snap to corner instead of just snap to center. So previously you were always measuring from the middle, which got really confusing because you do this, but obviously this room is not 15 feet, it's 20 feet, right? It's got 4 squares across, but I'm measuring from the middle. So you have to actually do this, and it just doesn't look right when you're measuring. And a lot of times you're never measuring from the middle of the square, you're always measuring from the edge of the square, and that's where snap to corner comes in. So now suddenly it makes sense about the length. Look at that, 20 feet. And if I want to do, you know, burning hands or something, now I can properly get a 15-foot arc out of my token. This is huge. I don't know if this was in here before and I was just an idiot for not noticing it, or if this is a new update and change to go with this UI. But the fact that now you can snap to a corner instead of the center makes a huge amount of sense for 5e specifically, at least. Also, you can do no snapping, which just allows you to kind of move it around a little bit like this. So that maybe is interesting. But the bigger difference is now you can hide your measurement tool. So before, whenever anybody was measuring, players or DMs, it was visible on the map to everybody if they were measuring. So it got pretty funny whenever a player or DM would get out the measurement tool and start doing it, because everybody's like, oh, what are you about to do? You know, and then that could be kind of fun. But if you want to hide that information from others, especially as a GM or DM, you can literally click this hide from others tab. And now I can be measuring, okay, where is my hidden dragon trap gonna spew its thing from? Make sure everybody's in it without literally showing the players that you're measuring from, you know, for example, a skull on the wall, and you're, you know, measuring about 15 feet, and everybody's like, I'm gonna start backing up. What are you doing? So I really like that feature, and you can see there's a little eyeball, you know, crossed out eye to represent the fact that you are doing that and nobody else can see you. So that's pretty cool. The last two features, we've got the initiative tracker, which now they just call turn order, and it works pretty much the same. I use a bunch of macros and stuff now, which I'm not going to show in this video, and plus I'm in just a random Fandelver thing. But once you select a token and you click the initiative, you know, whatever button or thing you've got for that token, it will now show up in this turn order. And I could do it, actually I can't do it for several of these. Let's use you, Mr. Red Brand Ruffian, which interesting the fact it overwrites it on that one. Okay, there we go. So now you can have multiple ones there. So that's how you do your initiative tracker. Everybody can do their own. Again, I use a bunch of macros to kind of keep track and also allow me to roll individual initiatives for different creatures, but that is the outside the context of this video here. And then this will actually stay here whether you open or close it. It'll remember all your turn orders. I don't know if it's the same. I think if you exit the game, it will even remember them. You have to individually click, which don't accidentally do that unless you're ready to delete them. But if you click on any of these portraits, it will delete them from the initiative tracker. Or if you have a shit ton of them, you can open up your settings and just remove all turns in order to clear it from there. And the final thing is the dice roller, which just allows you to roll any of the dice that you need in here. You can toggle it to make sure only that you see the dice roll if you want to do something hidden. And also, there's a few little changes you can do. The exploding dice is something I'm not very familiar with. 5e doesn't use this, but essentially if you roll like the highest number in that dice, then you can get a roll again option. So that's there. And then this option lets you just look at it slightly differently. So if you have multiple dice, let's say I'm rolling like 3d6, so I'd roll it like this, and it appears where it clearly shows all 3 dice and then the result. If you think that's a little too busy, you can select this option and roll it, and it will just show you. It's kind of a small font. I wish that was a bigger number, but it just does the number itself. Rolled 8s in a row, 14, so kind of like this. There we go. So if I'm doing it, it'll show up as like that person rolling. And then if you hover over it, it will reveal the dice that you actually did roll. So it doesn't, you know, try to cheat or anything. It shows you, okay, I rolled a 5, a 6, and a 4, and that equals a 15. But maybe you just prefer that because it's a little less busy. Just kind of depends on what your group likes, but I think that's an interesting option right there. And then advanced roller lets you add modifiers, do any, you know, what your last formulas were. So you could re-roll, you know, anything that you had come up recently, for example. Just basically some good options in there. And again, these are all just the basic stuff that comes with every version of Roll20, that before you apply all the many different macros and things that are out there that can make your job a lot easier and you know, really spruce things up a bit. But from what I can tell, I really like these new changes. Nothing in here is like upsetting me to where like, oh no, I missed this, or I'm bummed they did this. I guess the other thing I didn't show was that the dark mode versus non-dark mode. I, of course, am a man of culture, so I use dark mode. Once they unlock dark mode, I never look back, even though some of the font wasn't even like showing up correctly or anything, but I think it's all good now. But yeah, it's always use dark mode. But I really like it. I mean, the only weird thing I can think of is why we had a dedicated pan option where you could already pan with the right mouse button, I guess, is kind of funky. But I love the different layer buttons, I think is very convenient. The snapping, the new snapping tools and ways you can measure everything around is very nice. And just the doors and windows, you know, they just return from a previous update and are just even more critical than before. The only thing you won't see, though, is I believe they have not retroactively updated all the old modules, of which there are a ton, that did not use the doors and windows, I don't think. But anything that was new as of maybe 2023, hopefully has the new doors and windows update, and it's just really cool to have that. All right, so I think that is everything for my little Roll20 look at this new UI. If you have any other questions or comments or want to see me cover any other Roll20 stuff specifically, since that's the VTT I am the most familiar with, then let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy the channel and these videos, you can consider supporting me via patreon.com/RogueWatson. Thank you.